go with our new
Oh yeah,
title.
yeah. Preparing to live stream the meeting, setting up your meeting with YouTube Live. We'll do it live. Here we go.
Go with our new
Oh yeah,
title.
yeah. All right, we are live. Preparing to live stream the meeting, setting up your meeting with YouTube Live. We'll do it live. All right, Brock, there's a little bit of a delay here, so we're going to be on the struggle bus. So I'm going to go ahead and close out that window while we begin another exciting edition of what has become almost therapeutic in a way. Know your enemy. What a great time we've been having with these podcast episodes. Just really getting out here, raging against the machine and talking about what's going on in the world of politics and the crazy dismantling of our republic. I'm your host, Purple Haze, joined by BG, the Uptown Point guard. Brock Canellis is here with us. He's in upstate New York. I am in the dirty South, located just outside Atlanta, Georgia. All right, Brock, a couple of things that got me hot today. And we can start with the white on white political abuse. I mean, it's not white on white crime yet, but it looks like it. A couple of big, unknown, unidentified men yanked a woman out of a town hall in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. What's that all about? And who are these people?
Who ever knew of Coeur d'Alene? I had to read it 3 times. I thought it was a town in France. Wasn't sure. Is this going on here in the U.S.? Once again, just like the infamous bouncer at the Department of Education or CFPB, we get another couple unidentified, random,
Meatheads.
self-deputized, yahoos, Nazis, basically, coming in and yanking a defenseless woman out of her chair, breaking her arm,
What's
maybe not. But like, what was that? What did she do that was so egregious? And who were those guys?
Yeah, so I mean, apparently she's voicing her, dismay with what Elon Musk is doing, because that's a really red area out there. Nobody lives there, but it's red. The people who do live there are really red. It's a Republican stronghold. The Republicans love to show the middle of the country map. It's all red. Yeah, and there's like
Mhm.
40 people there, right? What's Wyoming's population? 3 million?
Yeah.
We got
Two
more people
senators,
than
though.
that.
Two senators. They got two senators, same as California and New York.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And, that's not working out for us very well.
Well, was it farming? U.S. aid and farm related? Was it something to do with a federal job? Was it veterans related? Do we know exactly what her beef was that
Yeah,
she was
I
talking
couldn't
about?
I couldn't tell from the clip. So the clip just kind of picked up with her interaction with that huge meathead that was trying to get her out of there. But, again, they want to silence the opposition, right? It's the same playbook. It's the playbook every dictator has used. And like Hervé said yesterday we had a great guest on yesterday. Check out that episode, if you will, with Hervé, Brock, and Mark. And, like he said, it never ends well for the dictators. It never ends well. And these guys are so inept, so inefficient, talking about the, Department of Government efficiency. The inefficiency allowed the computer system to be hacked at one of the government office buildings today, and they were playing Donald Trump licking Elon Musk's feet on the
Yeah,
video loop,
yeah, that was a good hack.
right?
That
It's
was
a
good.
great hack, and that ridiculous email that went out about you got to give us 5 things that you did last week or else you're resigning. Not failure to answer will result in your resignation. Well, that email address was leaked and it's now getting flooded with all kind of memes, pictures. One guy on social media said he was going to send his norovirus symptoms and he was going to include pictures, which really tickled me. So I mean, it's so random. It's so happenstance. It's
There's
it's
some
cruelty
resistance.
for
Yeah,
cruelty's sakes.
yeah. but there's some resistance in pockets. I mean, it's great
Hmm.
to see. Once we said white people, although it seems to be white people on the right are the most riled up.
Yep.
Um, Seeing scenes of a young woman in America getting yanked out of there by a couple of goons. That's the sort of stuff that triggers visceral reactions and gets the snowball going of more resistance, or it raises the anger, people feeling bullied. I do think it can obviously get dangerous and escalate very quickly, especially in these
That's
states
very
where
hard.
the gun laws are so lax. Everyone's got open carry. Now you have people randomly deciding that they can just be, security guards. Everyone's armed out there. You know, I see things going awry pretty quickly in some of these places when it doesn't seem like there's a, sort of a police force necessarily. It's just people on
Well,
people.
yeah, what did Donald Trump say to the J6 people when he released 1,500 of those, violent criminals, right? As long as you commit a crime in furtherance of me and my goals or on my behalf, I got you. I, I'll let you go.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the Rittenhouse situation. He got off. He was only charged at the state level, never charged at the federal level, and he got away with it. So people are going to start to feel like they can pull the trigger and get away with it. And that's another hesitation for Black America. I'm not going to get out there and risk getting shot, for white people that are upset, right? That's going to be the hesitation for Black folks. And you're still hearing that same sentiment.
Yeah, well, I mean, the young white woman gets shot on camera. Really, if anyone gets shot and it's videotaped and it's just a sort of self-deputized security J6 Proud Boy, I mean,
Right.
you will feel terrible for the person, killed or injured, but I think that's the type of thing that the quote broader America is not going to put up with.
Right.
And there's a lot of people with a lot of guns, and that's where things get to escalation really, really quickly. I mean,
Right.
I don't want to necessarily see anyone get hurt, but I want us to get to escalation quickly. So, I don't mind if the temperature picks up.
Speaking of escalation, did you see Enrique Tarrio confronting Michael Fanone in an office building there? And really, you have the nerve. This slime ball has the nerve to uh, basically confront an American hero who was doing nothing but his job and got beat within an inch of his life. Remember, Michael Fanone is the one who begged, said, I have kids. And they were screaming, kill him with his own gun. Remember that part? That was
Yep.
disgusting. And here's Enrique Terrio, who gets bailed out, by the seat of his pants, by the luck of an election, through a stolen election, if you ask me. You know my thoughts on the election, Brock. There's no way you can convince me he won fair and square. Not with Elon and his minions, accessing all the stuff they're accessing with their computer hacking prowess. But I mean, it was utterly disgusting the way he went after Fanone. And trust me, he doesn't want to smoke with Fanone. I think a healthy Fanone, I put good money on him all day. I put dollars to donuts on that one. I'll take Michael Fanone any day of the week because he
Yeah,
doesn't
but
look like he's
yeah.
oh,
Tario's emboldened, right? He got to get a jail free card. He knows he can really kind of do anything, and he would just,
right.
continually just get, you know, pardoned and pardoned, which gets us to another like, egregious event of the day. As much as we're happy with the hacking of, the video and where Trump looked like a fool looking Elon Musk's feet, is like that guy, Borgnino, whatever the hell you pronounce
Oh
it, is the
yeah.
deputy of the FBI. Now it's Cash Patel, and this guy, I mean, you just see some of that guy's rants. I mean, he's A plus Nazi
Unhinged.
fucking unhinged,
Oh,
ready to rumble. So he's in charge of law enforcement. That's who's in charge of law enforcement in America right now. But it's gonna go sideways. It's gonna lead
quickly.
to some problem, some violence, and I mean, hopefully that quickly triggers a broad response from white America, which
Right.
certainly is not used to the, the police forces. in
Right.
this country going
Right.
against them and
Many of
not protecting them.
them.
We're
Right.
used to and expect that protection. Now we have like a rogue FBI. Uh, that's where that'll trigger white America. We're
Right. And then we got the military. What are they going to do now that we're putting loyalists in those positions? Right. I mean, how does Kash Patel get confirmed? How do doctors, the doctor from Louisiana, the senator who sat up there and confirmed RFK? I mean, it's this thing. I mean, Trump 2.0, it's a clown car. One after the other keeps getting out and taking these top posts that they have no good idea of even what to do. How are they even going to log on? How are they going to get security clearances? Right? How's
no one's
Cash Patel?
is
How's
that
Tulsi Gabbard getting a
do we still
security
do
clearance?
we still do that anymore though? I mean, Jared Kushner got
No,
one. I mean, or does Trump just override it and then we don't do that anymore? Security clearances aren't
oh,
a
I
part of the
forgot.
process anymore.
Right.
So I don't think it matters. We've broken that down, right? Who is DOJ, Pam Bondi's team like looking out for that shit? I don't
Nope,
think
it's
so. I mean,
no.
that's just another place where we've broken down any, sense of confidence or, trust.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that was another step backwards. I mean, we try not to even talk about international events here, but Macron and Trump were at a press conference today, right? And Macron was basically, thankfully, just stood up and was correcting Trump's lunacy left and right because he doesn't
Oh,
feel required to live in an alternative universe, right? He has to go
right.
back home to a country that lives in the real world, and so
Right.
therefore he's trying to have some truth in his
Right.
in his world, but like we have no allies. Like there's no
No.
allies left.
No.
They're all wary of us and or figuring out how to move on without us.
Without
And
us.
then there's the people Trump wants to be allies, which are our traditional enemies who we know don't have our
Yes.
best interest at heart. So we're lost in the nowhere land. We have
Right.
no allies at this point. No one in the
Right.
world trusts us.
And the sad part, Brock, is economically, what's that going to do to us? You
I mean,
see, again, the MAGA universe has no global view. They don't understand how much the world's commerce is globally intertwined. They just don't
to
get it.
our benefit, to
To
our
our
benefit. It
benefit.
all works to our benefit. It's why they're the richest country in the world. We're number one. The world works for us. We're on the top of the
Right.
heap. Oh, let's break all that shit down. Well, are we still going to be number one? Is Canada going to buy our products? Is Europe going to buy our products? Or are they
Right.
not going to want to buy American products? Like there'll be
Right.
a
But
bit
they've
of
got other
stigma.
options.
Now our
Yeah.
companies will have a stigma because
Right.
people all of our people in the business world that are working overseas, they can't just waltz into a meeting as an American businessman. We're top of the heap. Everyone's looking
Yep.
at them like, what's going on with you? What
Right.
are you guys doing?
Again.
What's wrong with you?
Right. And here's the problem. We were talking about what scares us yesterday with our guest. You know what scares me? There's no end in sight, right? If we're counting on elections, if we're counting on voting our way out of this thing, I don't think it's happening because I think, that he always says the quiet part out loud. You won't have to vote again, folks. Just get me in this time, right? He's not planning on having an
Yeah,
election.
there's no quiet part anymore. Everything's out loud.
Oh,
Project 2025, they wrote it down, and Trump just says he tells you exactly what's going on.
yep,
The midterms, lots of luck on whether the midterms ever happen.
right,
The midterms will be so anyone who's playing for that on November 2026. Come on,
right.
we weren't even
We ain't gonna
close
be
to have that
standing
much
by
time. The
then.
clock's ticking. We're dead in the water by then. We're an autocracy by then.
What are we in 30? What are we, 32 days into this
38 days.
thing?
Okay, a little positive. Welcome back to the party, Kamala Harris,
Hello.
making a little bit of noise. I will give a little bit, some credit to Bernie Sanders, who's
Yep.
out in red state America. Although Bernie, given the economic message that the billionaires are screwing you, right? So, which is we're pro-union. He's great at giving that message that is to white working class Americans. He can go
Right.
for that niche. He can get that person who votes Republican, who's even MAGA light. He can bring them back to the middle of the Democrat side with his economic message. Those ones who are in the middle, just not super racist, just quasi racist, and they want to make a little more money and they'd rather have a little more money. They're not, it's at least a toss up for them. Bernie
Right.
still can't get there and actually mention that there's actually social factors that go into people's decisions, that it's not just the union and the job, but he's out there and he will, win some hearts and minds. He always has. But I appreciate, as usual, the effort. Bernie's not a young pup, right? Who's
No,
Bernie? In his
no.
80s or something? And he's out there running around like a banshee, making a lot of noise. You give it
Right.
to Bernie. It just makes you once again look, okay, where the F is everybody else?
Right.
Except for
Right.
AOC and Jasmine and what's his name out of Jim Hines, and the Connecticut contingent
Right.
is doing is
Right.
as a group is doing a good job of
No doubt.
of
Yeah, you
making a
got the
strong
AG up
argument.
there filing a lawsuit. Yeah, the AG up there filed a lawsuit, William Tong, against Trump and Musk and his minions for accessing that sensitive information, which goes back to 1974 and the Watergate scandal. You're not allowed to have access to that Treasury Department information, to the IRS information. You're just not allowed to have it because we Watergate looks like a day in the park, right? Looks like a tour. What they call it, a tour, a peaceful
Sure, yeah, yeah.
tour. Yeah, on January 6th. I mean, Watergate looks like a just, a couple of shoplifters compared to what these guys are doing. And we've just got to keep pushing. We've got to stay loud, stay proud, stay strong.
Yeah.
And again, that whatever it is that unifies us, you know, please, Lord, let it happen soon because we need it because everybody's cowering to the pressure. The whitewashing at NBC News just happened, just announced over the weekend. They announced yesterday Joy Reid was out. Today, they announced that Ayman Mohyeldin is out. They announced that Lester Holt is out. And they announced that Katie Fang is out. Notice any similarities there? All the brown people, right? All the others, right? And so, again, this Joy Reid made her bones helping us understand the true uh, uh, economic kind of rising of America through the 1619 Project, right? Remember, 1619 started the whole discussion on CRT. You remember Joy Reid, extra vocal during George Floyd, during Black Lives Matter, right? Speaking truth to power, making white folks feel uncomfortable. You think they didn't feel uncomfortable in that ivory tower up there at 30 Rock? This was their opportunity. They lost 55% of their audience after the election. Wasn't Joy Reid's fault. Just as much as it was Mika and Joe Scarborough going down to kiss the ring, talking about we need access. I mean, this man disparaged you as much as you possibly could. But here's the bigger point is that we're going to continue to kowtow to Donald Trump's needs, right? Because that was what they were saying on social media. Donald Trump won. Joy Reid's out of there. See, again, from the playbook. If we look at history and we look at the playbook, we should understand what this guy's doing because he's not that smart. His professors told us that. Everyone that's known him told us that. And then when his business, he's not even a good businessman. And that's a whole nother episode. We can talk about that too. But again, he's not helping these people's businesses win. More people are just going to turn away from NBC now, right? I mean,
And
Lester's
it
only been there
and
a
the
decade.
MSNBC, what's going on at NBC, which okay, so they replace one, Joy Reid with a few other black people because you can only have one slot, right? The rest of the
Right,
day has got to be,
right.
It's a
Billy White.
whitewash the rest of the day. We got Cabrera in the morning, but like out of 16 shows, right? There's like one with
Right.
black hosts and one Latino, and that's it, right? And that's the liberal progressive station, and they're saying, "Oh, we're going to stay progressive." Like, no, you're all
Right.
it's corporate owned, and you're trying to play to the middle, and you're Democrat like, and
Yep.
it plays right into the fact that the Democrats don't have a message. They're
Boom.
so worried about watering down the message and playing to the middle and the working white quote working class, but they won't just admit white working class, and they won't make the serious statement about where the social side of the statement about where things really need to be that makes
Yep.
people white America uncomfortable because they got to acknowledge that they have not, they've talked the talk and have not walked the walk since the 1700s.
Boom.
And therefore, we got to put, water down the message. So therefore, you get a message that delivers, that has no conviction behind it,
Hmm.
generates no energy, and therefore there's no action. So
Yep.
people wonder why, where the Democrats are lost. There's no leaders, no messages. We talk about it all the time. The
Yep.
people who really have the message is AOC, has the message, and then there's a whole faction that fights against her and calls her politics too far to the left.
Right.
And then
Right.
therefore the Dems have zero message. And so Donald Trump can stumble, bumble, an idiocracy his way to
Woo.
just taking over America.
Yep. And that's what's happening right. And Brock, the ripple effect with what NBC is doing nationally is that they're doing it locally too. I worked in Dallas for 2 years, didn't even make it to the third year of my contract before I was blown up out of there. And when I got to Dallas, I realized about 2 weeks in, I had made a horrible mistake. You know why? Because I looked around at the other stations and I saw one other person that looked like me on the air full time. One. In a city like Dallas. You know how many black folks on the south side of Dallas? I was, I said, oh my God. I told my wife, I said, I can't believe I did this to us. I said, I'm afraid that this is not going to work. And I was right. I was right. They wouldn't watch, so they used the ratings numbers as an excuse to blow me out of there. Now, here's the question. Did you promote me? Did you give me some billboards? Did you give me some commercials? Watch Mark Hayes in the morning. Have you ever done that for your African American talent? There's always one at a time, right? You can only have one at a time. Atlanta, Chicago, there's a couple of other exceptions out there. Houston, not very many places you can work as a black man in television news. That's why I got steam coming out of my ears with this Joy Reid thing. Went down there, we built a house, we look up, next thing you know, we spent more time building it than we did living in it. I mean, it's just a nightmare. And and the trickle down effect. I work for News Corp, Rupert Murdoch. 2009, we're doing these Obama's terrible, Rasmussen reports. I'm like, what are you talking? Like 2010, where's he getting this information? Me and my co, I'm like, Obama's awful, according
What
to all
city were
these
you in?
people.
What city were you in?
Atlanta,
Oh, and
in Atlanta. And we're talking about how bad the black president is because our focus was outside the perimeter, right? So we got 285 circling Metro Atlanta around the city, a 60-mile loop. And outside the city, it's as red as it could possibly be. Inside the city, blue is all day long. Blue is the sky blue. But now all the news happens in the city, but we focused on, the white woman with 2.1 kids with some college and who stays home, by the way, because her husband is the breadwinner. That was our viewer. I mean,
well, now, I
you
mean,
get
you
it. It's
start
a
going,
Fox
yeah,
station.
you start going along the major networks now. I mean, Abby Phillip has a show right at like 10 o'clock on CNN. It's more like a panel show. I can't watch it, right? Because they got Scott
It's
Jennings and a
unwatchable.
couple other fucking Nazis on it. It's unwatchable. I think Abby
Right.
Cornish fills in once in a while. Um, I don't know, is Victor Blackwell maybe on in the morning? I don't watch anymore, so I can't
Yeah, I
remember who's
couldn't tell
on.
you. I haven't watched.
Don Lemon got blown out for, telling Vivek Ramaswamy that he was an a-hole, basically.
Right.
And then they moved him in the morning, and then, they, trashed him
That was
and cut
just the
him.
way to shuffle them out of there.
Yeah. MSNBC will now have Simone and Michael Steele, like, sort of quote replacing Joy, like you said, a one for one. But
Right.
like, okay, where are the people of color, right? Mehdi got fired. I didn't realize Alma was getting fired. Alex Wagner, woman of color, she'd been
Yep.
fired. Katie Fang, I didn't realize that she was a part of this purge as well.
Yep.
I mean, the news is a white face. No, I mean, I just feel like the media doesn't want to talk about race in America. They want to avoid
Ooh.
it. It upsets people too much, which is why it continues to just be able to sit there in the underbelly, underneath all these
Mhm.
policies and all these actions as the great unspoken that like no one's allowed to talk about. But
Yep.
it's behind everything: tax policy, education policy, housing policy, right? It's like it's been so
Yep.
embedded in American decision making since the get-go, which is why I get frustrated with Bernie Sanders when he runs around and just wants to talk about a working class message and
Right.
doesn't like connect the dots that you have to talk about the racial message at the same time.
Right.
They're
And,
intertwined. You
and
can't just talk one without the other. That's the pie.
and you bring that up, Brock, about how, these race-based decisions impact us. They impact Black families even probably tenfold more than people imagine. Do you know now we have to have legislation that makes it illegal for you to knock down the appraisal value of a home just because it belongs to someone of color? I mean, how awful is that? You had a family in Florida that basically asked some white folks to stand in for them so they could get, the top appraisal value for their home, right? When we've moved from city to city, we left Detroit and our realtor told us you got to de-black the house. I said, what does that mean? You got to take down all the pictures, the black art, the pictures of the family and put up white pictures. I, I, I was like, are you kidding? No, people will lowball you. People will not buy. She's like, I've been in this business too long. And she was right. She was right. We got these huge pictures under the bed, with pillows so people can't see under the bed and see that we've taken down all these pictures. We got them covered with moving blankets in the attic and in the storage area, just so we can get top dollar for our home. But
All
why
know
do
it.
we have to
We
go
all
through
know
all
these
that?
stories. We've all heard these stories, told these stories. Like we know it. White people know it too.
Right.
They don't want to admit to
They
it.
just,
No
yeah,
one wants to
yeah.
talk about it and say it, but like we know what's going on and we know the game that's being played. And we know that when you talk about some tax policies, who they're gonna benefit and who they're gonna hurt, right?
Right.
We know it's kind of baked, been baked into things. And then,
Right.
but white people always pushing back, like, don't make everything about race. Don't make everything about
Right.
race. Well,
Right.
yeah, don't make everything about race. And if
And
if
that's
it,
what
if
that's what
everything didn't, if it didn't be, if it, white people didn't make it a factor all the time, it wouldn't have to be discussed. And
and that's
and it's
that's
terrible
what
that the media won't allow it out there. I mean, the
no.
one thing my friends about said about us just doing this, right? We just decided to do a month ago is just how rare it is for anyone to see a black person and a white person have a fucking conversation.
Right.
Only on ESPN, only on sports. Do you have
Sports.
the
Yep.
panel? Do you have the color, the play-by-play person and the color person, or the panel of, you know,
Right.
coaches or
It's
ex-players?
jocks.
We're sports is the
Only in
only
sports.
topic. And even then you have to stay away from, you can barely talk about race in sports, right?
Right. Right. I mean, even Brock, as little as you would think sitting in a news studio, it is so uncomfortable. Like they make you uncomfortable sitting next to a white counterpart. right? I remember we were building our studio in Dallas. They were like, I don't know how we're going to light you next to, such a fair-skinned person. I was like, oh, so it's illegal to have dark skin and be on television? It's like e- everything's an issue. Everything's an issue. I remember one morning here in Atlanta, I went screaming into the control room. You know how they put up the picture of the suspect over your shoulder? That fucking guy looked just like me. I was like, don't you put that picture up again? You know? And so, we say it ain't about race, but it's always about race. And that's what's killing us as a nation right now. The
And it's why
bottom
the
line.
Yeah, but it's why MAGA is this unified force. It's nice to see that
Yes.
it's peeling away a little bit at the edges because
Right.
they're so incompetent that they're actually, really actually hurting the quality of life of white people, their own constituencies, a hardcore constituency that they're actually pissing off their own people. Like they're missing a layup, right? They
All
have
right.
the most solid block because they're all the
Loyal.
same as each other, right? They all hate the same people. They're all there, right? But on the other side, which needs to be a unified force against that minority force,
Yep.
because we can't talk about the social issues.
Yep.
We can't. We can't come together. So
Oh,
there is no voice. There's no leaders. There's no message. There's no sense. There's no there's a spattering of people on the street, but it hasn't come together yet because we don't talk to each other and acknowledge each other's issues
and you
and
know what's
feel
funny?
each other's pain enough to actually get in the foxhole together.
Yep.
It's
And
frustrating to see and it's damaging. And ultimately, it might be the demise of democracy because we don't get our
mhm.
shit together. We won't fight back. So we'll lose democracy because we never really could come along lines. Because if reasonable white people, which is still an okay percentage, black
Sure.
people, Latinos, Asians, banded together, and of course LGBTQ of all colors because they're being persecuted, came
As
together, which is
well.
just a
Yep.
natural coalition. It's a fucking landslide. You go
Right.
out on the streets one day and you fucking
And it's a wrap. But
overturn.
you
It's
know
a
what
wrap.
when you talk about losing democracy, we're not just going to lose it here. We're going to lose it globally, right? Because the US is supposed to be the beacon on the hill, right? The shining star on the hill. We're not anymore. The world doesn't look to us anymore. The world doesn't trust us anymore. And the world knows that the Achilles heel for the United States has been, and will always be the race issue.
And they're just waiting for it to break apart. Russia's sitting over there laughing.
Yep.
They're
Without
laughing.
firing a single bullet, we'll destroy ourselves.
It's very frustrating. It's why it's like it's got, I'm just so heated up about it because I just don't, I just don't understand. I mean, I do understand. I guess that's why I'm so heated about it. It's so obvious to understand, but
Right.
we won't talk about it enough to address it, to take steps in the direction of what is our common, you
Mhm.
know, commonality. And I think I said this to you before. I may have said this on the first show. When the one thing that bothered me about Kamala Harris's message is when she said we have a lot more that binds us together than separates us. And I
Right.
know she wanted to believe that, and I know it's an aspirational message for America, and it's maybe where we should be and where we
Right.
should try to get to. But I just never believed it that today in the here and now that's really
That was done at
where
five.
the hearts and souls of the American people are. That they
Right.
really think that there's more that brings us together than separates us.
Right.
I don't
I
think
don't
we've
know.
allowed that. We haven't allowed that yet in America, or we haven't
No,
gotten there yet.
no. And it's an aspirational vision. Still, it remains aspirational. I mean, because, yeah, we may have more interracial marriages than we did 10, 15, 20 years ago, but that in and of itself is not moving the needle. That's still not helping the understanding get through to the masses, right? Like, we kind of look at it, we still look at it as an oddity. right? I remember when I found out that Heidi Klum and Seal were married. I was like, whoa, nice. How do you pull that off? Right? We still, think, wow, what is going on? And, now we're perfectly fine when we see athletes with white women. That makes sense to us for whatever reason. That's a whole nother topic. We're totally comfortable with that. But, again, walking down the street, you see 3 or 4 young black men coming towards you. You're thinking about crossing over, and you're not alone. And hey, most reasonable folks probably are not going to blame you. Probably are not going to blame you because of what we've been inundated with. And I will harp on this until they bury me and leave a rose on top. But the images that we have been flooded with for our lifetimes have taught us brown bad, white good. I was reminded watching Don Lemon's show this morning how Megyn Kelly, was all up in arms thinking, Santa Claus is white. Santa Claus wasn't white in my house. Wasn't white in your house either, Brock. I don't know if he stopped at your house. I mean, you got gifts, but it's a different kind of gift.
My mother actually converted to Judaism, so we would go to Buffalo every year and celebrate Christmas. So I have a
Is
whole
that
side of
right?
the family. Yeah, I have a whole
I
side
didn't
of
know
the
that.
family. Yeah, like I didn't go to church or anything like that. But yeah, there was the tree. We go to the grandparents in
Really?
Buffalo. Yeah, we had the whole Christmas
Okay.
experience. Yeah,
Okay.
minus
Nice.
the religion.
Right. Right.
It's a whole
Well,
other
Santa Claus
story.
was
Like,
black in my
what
house.
did her family think when my mother converted? But that's like that's for another episode. But
All right. Well,
because
listen.
America always has an underlying, the world actually always has an underlying anti-Semitism too. But
Right.
Americans, but Jews have a lot of influence and power in America, a lot of
Right.
money Jews in America, so
Right.
outsized influence. But there's still a lot of anti-Semitism, as you
No
can
doubt.
see, right? It's like fucking blatant, like
Right. And
but you know,
and we need to get into that because I need to be educated a little bit. I mean, I've tried to educate myself on the years over. I mean, going back to grade school, I've got to educate myself on it because I never understood it. I never understood. I was like, how do you know who's Jewish? I can't look at people. Now, it's funny too. We were in Ireland and the Catholics can look at the Protestants and tell who's who. I was like, how the hell are you doing this?
how
Like
do you go to war? How do you
right,
fight? How do you know who to fight?
right. So that's another issue. Religion's another
It's
issue, but
another
race is
topic,
Achilles heel.
but it goes to show. But I want to get back to the racial one, and you talked about the world losing democracy. Is like, but I would say like most European countries, if not, they're racist, right? They're
Yes,
racist also.
sure.
So, but it's easy for us to look at them and go, yeah,
Right,
those hooligans in
right,
England. Well, who's more racist than England with their
right.
royalty and this and
They're
that?
the
Like, right?
originals.
Yeah. So they taught Americans or whatever Americans came from there and just brought it with
Right,
them. So it's so easy for us to just look at other countries and go, wow, that country's racist. Oh, look at France. They're having those riots. They hate those Muslims, right? They're beating them over the head. And the white
right.
people in Paris, they don't want to be, tainted by the others. Germany, of course, right?
Germany,
Like,
of course.
it's so easy to look at those other countries and just be like, wow, those places are racist. Those are some fucked up countries.
Right.
They're okay. So how come we just can't turn the lens back and
Right.
have just the same conversation here? It's because
Right.
it's so easy to look at the others and just
Yep.
say it and like literally like kind of laugh at their racism.
Well,
But we
don't
can't bring the lens back here. The media can't talk about it.
now think about this though, Brock. No other country is as prolific with their mass incarceration as the United States, nor is it entwined in anybody's economic model like it is here. We got before the crime bill, we had about 400,000 people incarcerated in prisons, right? Not in jails, but in prisons serving time. We're up to 2.3 million now. That's Houston proper, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
fucking
city limits in
ridiculous.
Houston.
Even though
It's
we were like
ridiculous.
supposedly letting people out with the drug crimes, but we probably let out
It was
like
like
50
75
people, and
people.
yeah, yeah, and half of Idaho was up in arms, right? Because they were just convinced that crime was going to go up because it was all people of color. But I really got hit with it when
Yep.
the fires were going on in LA, right? And they're talking about, oh, we have all these like you know, incarcerated people as a part of, yeah, like they're fucking making 6 cents an hour out there, like getting fucking singed. Because like who
Right.
else
They've got a
wants to
prison.
fucking fight these fires? And
Right.
we just shrugged our shoulders like that was a normal fucking thing. Like, oh, of course they should be out there risking their lives for 6 cents an hour. Hey, gets them out of the jail cell. They probably
Right.
enjoyed it, right?
Right. And
That was
that's the
America's,
mentality we
yeah,
have.
that was the
They have a
mentality.
program. The state of California has a firefighting program in their jail system, their prison system, to teach you how to be a firefighter because they know they're going to need you. Right? They don't have enough people out there to fight those fires, especially with the conditions that we're dealing with now with global warming that, that Trump has called a hoax. But think about the people in Idaho got some nerve, right, to get upset. Oh, you know what? Then we're going to have to find people to freaking, pull the crops when it comes to these potatoes, Idaho potatoes, bagged produce grown, planted by prison labor. I mean, that's the difference, right? With these other countries and us. We're the best at it. Nobody does it better on the planet than us. Mass incarceration. That's our signature. And that's why race will always be our Achilles heel. Yeah, you have more white prisoners than black, but when you look at per capita, 1 in 3 black boys is liable to end up in the prison system. I have 3 black men in my household. One of them is in the Georgia State prison system. So it hits me in the face. And yeah, people say, "Oh yeah, don't commit crimes." Yeah, yeah. Sounds easy. Sounds easy, but what's what's
Rule of
what's
law.
going wrong
Yep.
in your life? Yeah,
Yeah. Rule of law, right? It's never been, it's never been,
right.
how is it enforced, right? There's always,
One guy can
there,
be president and one guy can do time.
yeah.
You tell me which one does what. All right, my friend. I think we've worn out another
Yeah, it's
great,
I don't know.
great session.
Today was not an eventful today, but it felt like a tough one.
I
Like
know.
is there I mean, this is just the
Where do we go
momentum
for
of the
help?
negative just keeps going, and like we have like little spatterings of
Right.
hope or positivity,
And that's
but
and that's why you can't watch it. I can't watch it,
it's directionally
because
negative.
yeah, I watch enough for you and I to have a good conversation. I read enough for you and I to have a good. I'm also not watching mainstream news. You
No, I
know,
can't.
I'm what
I'll watch it
straight.
less now without Joy Reid. I'll tell you that. That's one
Absolutely.
less show I would tune into.
Pro tip, SAN.com, straightarrownews.com. It separates it by liberal and conservative, and the stories that they post are straight down the middle, just the facts. I also go to Reuters. Reuters is great. They got a great YouTube channel and the Associated Press. Those are my two go-tos, AP and Reuters. And I'm adding this Straight Arrow News into the mix. I just downloaded their app to my phone the other day. So, there are some places out there you can go. Midas Touch surpassed Joe Rogan as the #1 podcast. Lincoln Project puts out great stuff. Rick Wilson is a great follow. If you want to deal with the truth and if you want to confront this thing head on, because these people are giving it to you. Steve Schmidt, another super smart former conservative, with a great Substack. If you want fact-based news and or opinion, these are some of the places you can go. But
Mhm.
I can do without the opinion. I don't need anybody riling me up. You do that enough for me, bro.
I think not. I think not. That's my job.
All right, my
Okay,
friend. Have a great night. We'll be
you
back
as
here
well.
tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
All right. All right, Mark.
All right. Have a good night,
Take
my
care.
friend. Talk soon.